Hi guys, it's Mams again with Mams Reads Books, and I had time to do one more, and Mams loves Christmas and I can't wait to see all you guys. I'm going to be home soon and we are going to make cookies, lots of yummy cookies, and we're going to decorate them. So we have got to get into the Christmas spirit by reading all of our favorite Christmas books. So the next one we're going to do today is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Because the Grinch loathes Christmas. I just watched the movie last night. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Suess. This is a special edition that we bought while we were in London. So it's got a lot of really cool things in it. It starts off and it shows you all the different things and why and how he wrote the book. Okay? So it's kind of cool, and I'll bring it home with me and I can share it with you guys, okay? Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all must have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. His heart was so little, it was this big. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm-lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew. Ooh. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, and they'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise, the noise, the noise. That's one thing he hated, was the noise. Then the Who's young and old would sit down to feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast, who was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. Which was something he couldn't stand in the least. And then they do something that he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made it a quick Santa hat and a coat. And he chuckled and chuckled. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. And the Grinch looked around. But since reindeer are scarce, there were none to be found. Did that stop old Grinch? No. The Grinch simply said, "If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead." So he called his dog Max, and he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn right on top of Max's head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh. He hitched up old Max, and then the Grinch said, "Get up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air, and the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got struck only once for a moment or two, and then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who's stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first thing to go." Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every single present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags, and then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all his bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding, and he took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I'll stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" You see little Cindy Lou Who? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa lied, "there's a light on the tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney, and he stuffed the tree up. Ooh, almost dropped my book. Then the last thing he took was the log for the fire. He went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. was 9:15, all the who's still in bed, all the who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. He packed it up with their presents, their ribbons, their wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and the trappings. "3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it." Ooh, sorry. "Pooh-pooh to the who's," he was grinchably humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up, and I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a month. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the who's down in Whoville will all cry. Boo, hoo, hoo." That Grinch isn't very nice, is he? He's not nice at all. "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started out low, and then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so. But it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and then he shook, because what he saw was a shocking surprise. Every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any reason at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzled and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. "Maybe Christmas," he thought, "doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, is a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that very day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The Grinch Stole Christmas. Mams loves you guys a lot. Lydia, Lucy, I'm adding you to the Mams Reads books. I'm going to let your mommy know. And maybe you can join us when I read books to you guys. I really enjoy it. So this was How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Can't wait to see you guys. Love you.